You know that feeling of playing a gaming for hours straight? I know that nowadays this feeling has kind of been lost, and it's really hard to find a game like that on Android, especially with so many games forcing ads and barely giving you any real excitement to keep playing. But luckily you clicked on this video, because today I'm bringing you the top 15 most addictive games you can play for hours. So hit the like button and come with me. This is one of those games that can easily get you hooked, whether it's because it's a card game, its RPG elements, or even the fact that it's a roguelike. Let's talk about Guardians. The game takes place in the Kingdom of Valentia, a land that was once peaceful until the so-called Day of Chaos. You take on the role of one of the Guardians, heroes who must explore different regions like forests, deserts, and castles to defeat the forces of chaos and restore balance. Visually, I find the game quite beautiful, with everything done in a cartoon-style aesthetic. The gameplay is turn-based and heavily focused on resource management. Each turn you receive a certain amount of energy to use attack cards, defense cards, or special abilities. The game doesn't bring major differences compared to other card games or even other roguelikes, but it becomes one of those addictive games simply because it's very well made and easy to pick up. ETERNIGHTS is a game that mixes two genres that rarely come together: hack and slash and a dating simulator. Let's talk about it. Released in 2023 by Studio Sai, the game is heavily inspired by the Persona series, but with a much stronger focus on real-time combat and a more urgent end-of-the-world narrative. The protagonist ends up losing an arm, which is replaced by a magical energy prosthetic that can transform into different weapons. He and his group of girls are the only ones capable of defeating the aliens that have invaded Earth. You have a limited number of days to complete dungeons, and you must choose how to spend your nights: training to become stronger, scavenging for supplies, or going on dates. However, building relationships with your teammates isn't just about seeing romantic scenes. It also unlocks new combat abilities and powerful magic. Epic Conquest is an action RPG franchise, and the latest release is Epic Conquest X, a new and expanded version. Let's talk about it.
Round slash! Triple edge! Here goes nothing!
The game takes place in a world that was invaded by demons through a dimensional portal. After years of war, peace was finally established, but prejudice against the so-called hybrids still remains. You follow the journey of two initial main characters, Alistair, a royal knight, and Edna, a fire mage and a hybrid. The story focuses on their relationship and on the fight against forces that want to restart the war. Unlike many modern mobile RPGs, Epic Conquest proudly embraces an old-school design. Combat is real-time, fully manual with no autoplay, and of course completely offline, which is one of the game's biggest highlights. In this latest entry, classic characters return, but the game also adds much more story content and several new characters. ELDERAND is an action platformer in the Metroidvania style with strong RPG elements, and it's still relatively unknown on Android. Let's talk about it. You take on the role of a monster hunting mercenary who travels to a distant cursed land in search of treasure and glory. However, you soon become involved in a dark storyline filled with apocalyptic cults and colossal creatures from other dimensions. The game follows the classic structure of the genre, but with a very strong focus on combat customization. It demands good reflexes and is extremely punishing, while at the same time offering an insane variety of weapons, something you don't usually see in other Metroidvanias. You earn experience, level up, and distribute points into attributes like strength, agility, vitality, and wisdom, allowing you to create a build that truly matches your playstyle, which is quite uncommon for some Metroidvanias. If you enjoy survival games but hate hunger and thirst mechanics, you really need to check this one out. Let's talk about DYSMANTLE. Play as a survivor who emerges from an underground bunker after many years, only to find an island overrun by monstrous creatures. Your main goal is to escape the island, but to do that you'll need resources that can only be obtained by destroying what's left of civilization. The biggest difference here is how interactive the environment is. You can destroy almost everything in your path, from item crates to entire houses if you want. Your tools and weapons never break. Once you craft or upgrade them, they're yours forever. This removes one of the most stressful aspects of survival games. The game world is huge and handcrafted, and each new area opens up as you progress through the game. When this game launched on Android in 2025, it became a huge success. It's described as an adventure and fishing RPG with cosmic horror elements. Let's talk about DREDGE. You take on the role of a fisherman who arrives in a remote town called the Marrows. Your initial task is simple: fish to pay off the debt on your new boat and provide food for the local population. However, what looks like a simple simulation game slowly starts revealing dark secrets hidden beneath the water, deeply disturbed inhabitants, and grotesque mutated fish that make you wonder how they even came to exist. The atmosphere is calm at first. You sail, solve puzzles, talk to NPCs, and fish using rhythm-based minigames, but during the night the game changes. The fog rolls in, your character's panic level rises, and hallucinations begin to appear. If you enjoy the creative freedom of Minecraft but miss an epic story, charismatic characters, and a clear goal, then you need to play Dragon Quest Builders. The story of the first game is based on an alternate ending to the very first Dragon Quest. In the original game, the villain Dragon Lord offers the hero a chance to rule the world alongside him. In Builders, the hero accepts the deal, is betrayed, and the world is plunged into darkness. You are the legendary builder, the only person left in the world who still possesses the power of creation. Your mission isn't just to defeat monsters, but to rebuild civilization block by block. Unlike Minecraft, where you're dropped into an empty world, here there's a clear structure and a defined mission. Because of that, it can't really be considered a pure sandbox like Minecraft, but rather an RPG experience that happens to be inspired by Minecraft. Detention is a psychological horror masterpiece developed by a Taiwanese studio that gained worldwide recognition. Let's talk about it. The game is set in 1960s Taiwan during the period of martial law known as the White Terror. The story begins in an isolated high school located in the mountains, which turns into a nightmare version of itself during a violent storm. You control two students, Wei and Rei, who find themselves trapped inside the empty school. To get past ghosts without being detected, you need to hold your breath. This creates incredible tension as your character's vision slowly darkens while you struggle to escape. Very different from most modern horror games, Detention focuses much more on strong storytelling and unique horror elements instead of relying on jump scares. This is a very beautiful isometric game that mixes several elements, but above all, it's also very hardcore. Let's talk about Death's Door. You control a small crow whose job is to collect the souls of those who refuse to die. Your assigned soul is stolen by a desperate thief, and you must chase this mystery through a realm where death hasn't occurred naturally for a very long time. The game is often described as a Zelda-like with touches of Dark Souls. That's because of its precise combat where you need to know exactly what you're doing, combined with puzzles and world exploration inspired by the Legend of Zelda. Each boss has a unique personality and a dedicated soundtrack that makes every fight feel epic. They're not just monsters, but characters with tragic motivations. Dark Raider is an action RPG with strong roguelike and hack and slash elements, widely praised for its hardcore difficulty. Let's talk about it. The game takes place in the world of Ilkis, which is facing the apocalypse. The gods have decided to give humanity one last chance, as dungeons have appeared out of nowhere, and if heroes manage to conquer them, the end of the world will be delayed. Even though the game has a story, the gameplay itself is a solid roguelike where almost everything is random except for the bosses, which always appear in the same locations. Combat is entirely skill-based. You can't just button mash, you need to learn dodge, timing, blocking, and counterattacks. It's extremely punishing. You even have 3 different characters to choose from, but with all of them, chances are you're going to die a lot. The game's 23 bosses are the real highlight, with each one requiring a different strategy to defeat. CRASHLANDS 2, released on April 10th, 2025, is the sequel to the acclaimed survival RPG, and this is exactly the kind of game this video is about, the type that gets you addicted for hours. Let's talk about it. You once again play as Flux Dabes, the intergalactic trucker who, after years of corporate stress, decides to take a vacation on the planet Wono. The core gameplay is still all about exploring, gathering resources, fighting monsters, and building your base. However, it brings major improvements over the first game, like a much wider variety of alien enemies, friendly creatures, and even the possibility of turning some of them into companions or pets. The combat system feels smoother and more fluid. You can use crazy gadgets that you craft yourself, and now the game puts an even bigger focus on base building, allowing you to create much more complex homes for you and your new friends. There are many metaphors surrounding this game, and it's very symbolic at the same time, but honestly I see it as a simple platformer. Let's talk about Candleman. You play as a candle. Yes, a normal candle. This little candle can only stay lit for a total of 10 seconds before completely melting away. Most of the levels are submerged in total darkness. You need to give quick blinks of light and lighting up for brief moments to memorize the path, identify obstacles, and then move forward in the dark to save your wax. It's fairly easy to understand just by watching the gameplay, but much harder than it looks once you actually start playing. Throughout the levels, there are other unlit candles that act as collectibles and permanent light sources, helping you avoid getting lost. It's simple, but it works incredibly well. Blossom Tales 2 is the perfect choice for anyone who misses the classic games from the Legend of Zelda franchise. Let's talk about this beautiful little game. The first thing you should know is that this game is older, and for some reason it only received its second version on Android. Because of that, you might feel a bit lost in the story at first. One of the most charming features of Blossom Tales is the way it tells its story. The game isn't a real story, but rather a tale being told by a grandfather to his grandchildren around a campfire. From time to time, the kids interrupt the narration to give their own ideas. The grandfather might ask, "So which monster showed up?" And depending on your choice, the game changes at that very moment. This time, the protagonist Lily makes an unthinkable wish, and her brother Chris is kidnapped by the fearsome Minotaur King. Lily then sets off on an epic journey to rescue him. It's very simple but extremely effective. Atom RPG is a perfect pick for anyone who misses the early Fallout games or enjoys a strong post-apocalyptic vibe. Let's talk about this very interesting title. In 1986, the Soviet Union and the Western Bloc destroyed each other in a nuclear bombardment. Decades later, you explore what remains of the USSR. The atmosphere is a mix of desolation, retro-futuristic Soviet technology, local urban legends, and the sharp, dark humor typical of Eastern European culture. The game is openly inspired by classics like Fallout 1. Combat follows a very tactical format where every move matters and costs action points, making the experience both highly strategic and punishing. The character creation system is inspired by GURPS with core attributes like strength and perception, defining your chances of success in almost everything you do. On top of that, you must manage hunger, radiation, and toxicity. Eating raw rat meat might satisfy your hunger, but the diseases come as a bonus. Anima RPG is a tabletop-style RPG that stands out for its unique mix of dark fantasy and a gameplay style very similar to Diablo but fully offline. Let's talk about it now. The game takes place in Gaia, a vast world with a deep story filled with secrets. The tone is medieval fantasy where magic and the supernatural are real, but often hidden or feared by the common population. There is a powerful religious force that hunts down magic users, making the use of powers a dangerous choice. Combat is based on infinite loot grinding with a wide variety of equipment you can equip on your character, but it never feels boring since the game is also a very well-made hack and slash experience. Descend and explore the abyss, slay demons, beasts, dark knights, and other demonic creatures across more than 40 levels, and test your skills in intense and engaging boss fights. And that's it for today. If you're tired of shallow mobile games and want experiences you can actually play for hours, these titles are more than worth your time. See you in the next video.